right. Week 9 of the commercial real estate gauntlet that is 2024. Here with the Will Narduzzi. He's back. Narduzzioli.
That's how we roll, baby.
How was Italy, Will?
It was amazing. I told Jeremy on the elevator up, the only thing that was anchoring me back here to the States was my children who didn't travel with me and Matt Cap. Matador Realty Investments.
Yeah. Whatever.
That was great. Super awesome. I would recommend traveling Europe in February, March. Not very busy.
Yeah.
It's pretty, usually it's like totally mobbed and there's just big Asian tour groups everywhere. I mean, all nationalities have their big tour groups, but like that's very stereotypical. And there were some, but it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was good.
Well, cool. So, well, it looks like you ate a bunch of cannolis.
Yeah.
And strombolis.
Yeah. It was refreshing to have scrambled eggs this morning for breakfast.
instead of 1,000-calorie cappuccino and a big pastry.
And a Narduzzi. But I never thought I'd ever admit that. I was making the eggs and I looked at Emily. I was like, I'm so excited for scrambled eggs right now. So, well, let's jump into it.
All right. Well, let's see. This week, initial jobless claims forecast is 216,000. Last week it was 212, so it's kind of come back down. Mm-hmm. The forecast for last week was 220. The previous couple of weeks have been kind of spiked up there, but looks like that's coming back down. And on Thursday, you have existing home sales. Forecast is 3.97 million. The previous was 3.8. So, stock market, the Dow just down a 0.1% pretty much, closed out at 38,627. The S&P down about 40 basis points to 5,005. The NASDAQ closed out at 15,775, down about 1.36%. Crude creeping its way up, got up to $79.19. The 5-year went up about 1.85% to 4.215, and the 10-year went up to 4.284. And so for remaining constant at 5.31. Let's see, real estate stocks. Let's see, 1 week performance, real estate services, and REIT office getting a little rebound after it's gotten obliterated here for a little while. God, I feel like we should have a full-time trader on real estate stocks and we just track them and
give us a little analyst.
Yeah. But it looks like real estate services are kind of getting a bounce back. So I guess people are feeling
they should.
That, although Marcus and Millichap posted a loss. Saw that.
That doesn't shock me. I feel like our deal flow has been pretty good and that kind of correlates. It's all anecdotal.
All coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's picked up. It's good. Activity's good. All right. Let's talk about the term of the week. I was kind of stretching for one, but I just went back to an old favorite here that we haven't done on the show yet. Huddle up.
Let's discuss this more and huddle up later.
Let me huddle up with my team and I'll get back to you. Hey, let's huddle. I've heard it abbreviated just as huddle, not huddle up. Hey, let's huddle on that later. I have a real good buddy of mine, and he loves to use the word huddle. We were working a deal together, and I was like, dude, if you say huddle one more time, like I might have to just step out of this.
Can you imagine if people actually huddled up in the office?
That would be hilarious.
That would be hilarious.
Like if they took a picture and sent it to you, and was like, hey, we huddled on this.
Yeah.
There's a guy sitting down on his knee in the middle of it with like a playbook.
He's got his iPad just like running through loan docs, like Bella's in the middle, just like carving up this marketing flyer for us. All right, ready, break.
Yeah.
I can see our squad just out in the middle, but no, that would be funny. One of you big boys at a big shop, go do that.
Yeah.
You people throw around that term.
Yeah. If you say huddle up, by God, you better do it.
Yeah.
Like, I want you huddling.
We'll post it.
And if it's just you and one other guy, I want y'all like huddled. I want y'all bent over, looking kind of down towards the ground.
Somebody get like Tim Tebow action going on.
Yeah.
Put a little, what is the eye color underneath?
Yeah.
Go do that. I want to see it from CB for whatever reason. I want to see like CBRE, just like 4 or 5 guys just huddled up.
Oh,
that'd be funny.
That would be hilarious. So actually, kind of a decent amount to cover in news today. So more on the national news spotlight, but Bob Knakkel is out at JLL, the super broker, probably the number one commercial real estate broker in the nation. And maybe ever. Mm-hmm. And he's out at JLL. I think, he had a big article come out in the New York Times, and
yeah, I saw that.
It was about him, not JLL. And I think the chatter is that, Bob has a very big personal brand. And I think the chatter around the internet and the retweet worlds is that his brand kind of overshadowed the company at that point. But, I think that's something that commercial real estate firms don't know how to deal with, and they need to embrace it because it's here. They want you to create a personal brand by cold calling, but that only gets to the attention of the buyers and sellers. Yeah. But when you use the platforms that we have now to create your personal brand, and it sounds like you got punished for it.
Yeah. I mean, permanent sin bin.
Yeah. So,
I'm listening, but I'm on his LinkedIn right now, 37,000 followers just on LinkedIn. Let's go to JLL. JLL corporate, it's 2 million, but it's huge.
Sure. They probably have 2 million people that work there.
But he's pumping out relative information he's got tons of interactions. Every impressions, people liking, resharing. It's
at the end of the day, a broker relationship with someone, and let's be honest, Bob Knakkel's not a national corporate guy that the JLL platform supports.
No.
He's a local Manhattan guy that kills it on every single street.
Yeah. He's OG street broker.
Yeah. So he doesn't really need your national platform.
No.
You know what I mean? But even to that point, if you're letting these people create, this brand awareness of themselves on and leverage the power of the national platform with it, then I think it's an issue that most real estate companies don't know how to really deal with. Yeah. They want you to brand yourself to a point. But if you start doing a better job of branding than them, then they have an issue with it.
Yeah. Even working on a medium-sized shop, that was always kind of an issue. It didn't become very prominent because I felt like where I was, guys would get to a certain level within the marketplace and they wouldn't push further because the company did do a pretty good job of marketing, but it was definitely somewhat of an undertone that if you were to push further out by yourself, that was not going to be well received.
Well, I guess, do you want your brokers to be entrepreneurial or not? If you want them to be robotic, then just hire robots.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't, for the level that we kind of play in, you have to be entrepreneurial. Even if you're leasing small, junky spaces like we've got like Czars and More, right? Big, beat up project. Yeah. It takes a lot of creativity. Yeah. And young people are open to being creative and entrepreneurial using social media. Nobody wants to work with robots. But what do you think?
Some people are forced to, right? They have a bazillion corporate accounts across so many states, and they just have to use that and go with that. So
do you think it just turn off to other brokers now who are at JLL or the big groups where they see something like that? We're all assuming it's because of his personal brand got bigger.
Yeah,
who knows actually what occurred?
Who knows? But it's probably somewhat true, right?
Yeah.
There's some truth to all the chatter on the internet, right?
Yeah.
You just read the statement that JLL made. The client comes first.
Is that what did they put out a statement?
They said the client comes first, the company comes second, the employee becomes third. So
that does not motivate me to work somewhere like that.
Well, I just I don't know, man. It is what it is. I think he will probably be just fine. Yeah. I don't know why he needs a platform like JLL.
Well, he had a big shop.
He sold it to Cushman.
Yeah, so I'm sure it's that was a great payday.
Yeah, he sold it for $100 million.
Yeah, 9-digit figure apparently. But I don't know. It would make more sense for him just to do his own deals.
Yeah, I think that he's the one that made all the cold calls.
Why pay them royalties for things that he created?
Totally agree. Okay, moving on. Stay hard, Bob.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. Industrial sublease markets swell in DFW. Ooh. So we have developers have overbuilt. It always happens.
Yeah.
Always happens.
Yeah.
Development is not built to the need of space. It's built to the cost of capital, and capital was cheap.
And yeah, not all of it, but
14 million square feet of industrial sublease out there.
And that's all Class A.
I'm sure.
That's where the data is really good if you're getting that from CoStar.
Yeah. And let's see, 69 million square feet of vacant industrial warehouse at the end of 2023.
What's that, like 7% of the market, 8%-ish?
Probably a little less than that because we're at 1.2 billion feet.
Okay, so it's probably around 6.
I mean, that is what it is. It'll get absorbed. I mean, Dallas is chugging along. Yeah. I don't think it's going to matter. But at some point, I mean, people did overbuild. I think what could really happen is some of that could get absorbed by users being able to purchase that stuff.
For sure.
Because developers just need to hit an exit. So,
Todd did that.
Yeah.
He sold for a great number for him.
Hey, man, it's all about returns.
What's the phrase that we always use here? If you pay the number, you're going to own it.
If you pay the number, you're going to own it. We actually executed that last week, and 2 sections of or 2 buildings we're going to go under contract on and sell. So I didn't really think we'd sell anything this year, and we got 3 buildings. We'll have 3 buildings under contract. That'll be our 4th sale this year. So
the exchange market's been.
That's what 2 of these are exchange markets and one's a user. So it's interesting. Okay, I want to get into the Trump judgment against him. $350 million. Okay, so I found this tweet. This was by 3N Developer. He's an anonymous account, but he wrote a really good piece. I'm just going to kind of read it to you. So he says, here's my understanding of the case that was argued against Trump. Asset value. Okay, let's avoid all politicalness of this.
Yeah.
Okay. Asset valuations were grossly exaggerated to the extent that it was fraudulent. Due to the severely increased asset values, Trump was able to obtain significant benefits that were ill-gotten. These benefits include larger loan amounts, lower interest rates on the loans, lower insurance premiums. Trump received ill-gotten gains by having banks lend him money at lower rates than they would have had they known the true value of the underlying asset. The example is he would have had money loaned to him at 10 or 12% interest instead of 4 to 5. Trump also, and this is all coming from the case, so I see the look on your face. We get to that. Okay. Trump also received ill-gotten gains by profiting on developments that relied on construction loans, which he never should have received. So here's his understanding of Trump's defense. Asset valuations can never be objective and were based on expert opinions. Trump's lenders never lost a penny on these loans, and all of his loans were paid on time and in full. And remember, we're only focusing on the loans that were referenced in this case, not his bankruptcy back in the day.
Okay, that I was about to say. Okay. Do we want to reference late 90s Atlanta AC?
This is just the loans in this lawsuit. And this is like the city of New York's DA is suing him.
Yes.
Okay. I want to avoid the nuances of the case because of the market value of Mar-a-Lago versus assessor's value and whether the covenant Trump recorded actually impaired its value, and just to focus on the bigger picture here. So we're going to just kind of shelf that part of Mar-a-Lago in the deal. I really don't know what that means, but anyways, I guess there was something that he did. To me, it appears that the crux of the Attorney General's case was entirely dependent on her argument being correct due to increased asset valuations. Trump received loans and rates he should have not received. And he says, now, this is where I struggle. And this gets really interesting. Asset values are truly based on the eye of the beholder. The buyer and the buyer's development plan will create unbelievable variations in what an asset can be worth. Let's assume we have a 40,000 square feet piece of land at Main and Main at the corner of Times Square in New York City. Let's also assume there are only 2 real estate buyers in the entire universe and no one else exists. Real estate buyer number 1 is 7-Eleven convenience store, the operator who plans to build a 3,000 square foot convenience store. Real estate buyer 2 is a high-rise developer partnering with the Waldorf Astoria and is planning a 75-story mixed-use development, hotel, residential, condos, and retail on the bottom floor, and has a pathway towards installing massive digital billboards on the building. The convenience store operator may max out at $30 million for the value of the land. There is only so much value that can extract from the operating of a convenience store on the site. Regardless of the extent of foot traffic, there is only so much profit that can be made selling soda, chips, and cigarettes. The high-rise developer may max out at $400 million. This figure is a guess. This is just an example, but it showcases the assets' value are totally fluid and really depend on who owns them. Assets are absolutely worth more under certain owners than other owners. Okay. Ill-gotten gains. The basis of calculating damages was based on ill-gotten gain. Example, the difference in interest rates that were given and what should have been charged. Assume we have a $10 million loan at 12% interest. That's an annual interest expense of $1.2 million a year. At 4% interest, the annual interest expense is $400,000 a year. The delta here is $800,000 a year in interest expense. If the loan lasted 10 years, then the total delta in interest expense would be $8 million. Mm-hmm. The Attorney General alleged that Trump's lenders would have charged him substantially higher rates if they knew that his assets values were actually lower. In our example, they should have charged him 12% when instead they charged him 4%. Apply this across all of his properties and substantially higher loan amounts, and this is what the damages became the hundreds of millions of dollars. I also struggle with this allegation for two main reasons. One, in my experiences, banks do not lend based on asset value and instead lend based on how much income an asset generates, i.e. cash flow.
Correct.
Banks then apply a measure of safety, debt service coverage ratio, and then calculate the loan amount they can give. The nuance here is that assets are not meant to cash flow or condo developments. So banks will also review a developer's previous projects and assets and how those assets performed post-construction. Mm-hmm. This is also one of the main reasons why many lenders are continuing to actively extend loans on commercial buildings, although the assets' values have dropped. They are still cash flowing and paying the loan payments. Number two, the Attorney General alleges that banks would have charged Trump substantially higher interest rates, 12% instead of 4%. From my experience, banks are not hard money lenders and do not give loans at 12%. Mm-mm. Totally agree with that. If lenders do not give Trump a loan at 4% or even 5 to 6%, then they have gotten loan proceeds to another borrower at 4 to 6%. Mm-hmm. So how can you say that a bank would have charged 10 to 12% when their business is not conducted that way? So, independent monitor. The Trump Organization has been put under the supervision of an independent monitor for the last 3 years who has a final authority on all business decisions made at the company. In essence, the court neutered the family company's ability to conduct any business without the review/approval of this monitor. If the Trump Organization were a publicly traded stock, my perspective would be different, but this feels like the government is performing a coup on a private company.
When did this start?
3 years ago. Pretty much when he got out of office. Okay, so here's his thought. My thoughts. I think Trump messed up in many ways, and many inconsistencies and inaccuracies were found in his financial statements. Although, if I'm playing devil's advocate, I bet everyone's financial statements have mistakes in them, and a team of attorneys/expert that is paid to find mistakes will.
Yeah.
It appears that Trump may have exaggerated certain asset values, but it's truly impossible for a third-party observer or even for a court to accurately assess this. From what I read, Trump's lenders never had an issue with the loans they gave Trump and were paid what they were contractually owed. Who is Trump paying the $450 million to? To the lenders or the government? Makes you wonder about the underlying incentives behind the case. I tried researching the answer to this question, but could not find it. Overall, the case erred in the $450 million judgment against Trump feels off for me. And so this is actually going to go, the money is going to New York for the damages of people that could have gotten loans that Trump got their loans. Like, this is...
Let's just stop doing what we're doing now. This isn't like, do we need to even like talk about this?
This is terrible. Well, you know the one thing in all this? Don't banks require appraisals?
Yeah. Right.
So these things probably all appraised.
Yeah. And it's not like he's going to Mickey Mouse banks.
No, it was Deutsche Bank.
His capital stacks are freaking massive.
Hey.
Like, you're having, like, they're having underlying, like, they've got multiple banks layered in, like it's just like Citibank, Deutsche. Like,
yeah, they're probably participating with some other banks on the deal. And,
he's getting $100 million loan, $50 million loan. Like, you're not going down to, Acme Bank on Main Street.
Yeah.
Like, these are all publicly traded corporations.
Yeah. It's pretty unbelievable. And the fact that the AG thinks 12% would have been charged.
Jeez, that's what we do on our hard money stuff.
Yeah, it's hard money.
Like,
it's not like
get a life.
You don't go to normal banks for that.
No.
You go to private lenders, and this was not done with private lenders.
No. If somebody ended up on our doorstep with the projects that he does and he's looking at us at 412, I actually would probably be turned off.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what's wrong? Like, what? Who are you? Is there like, are you Osama bin Laden? Yeah. Like, you know, coming out of the, what's going on here?
Right. So I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I'm sure he was very adversarial through the whole thing, which probably, you know, fueled the fire.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, this sounds like the government meddling in someone's personal business.
You know what's going to be sad is that you're just not going to have creativity and entrepreneurship in real estate in states like New York. Because when you have something like this come down, and if it actually gets pushed all the way through, why would you want to get aggressive and develop there?
Well, what I think it will do is it will keep very successful entrepreneurs from trying to run for public office.
And that too.
And let's be honest, those are probably some of the best guys to do it.
Yeah.
So if they actually want to take the pay cut to go do that, like
I've always said, why can't we just get some normal people? Like, and I just look at just the big people in our business here in DFW, and there's some solid humans.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just middle of the road, very understanding. They'll sit down and have a conversation with you. Like, those are the type of people you want, you know?
Yeah.
And then they see something like this, they're like,
why would I do that? Why would I get into this?
Yeah.
This is terrible.
I got a bunch of kids. I got my business. I don't want anybody looking in the business.
Well, I would think, honestly, at the end of the day, anybody wanting to be president, there's probably a lot of ego behind it, you know? Every politician I've ever met or been close to has just had tons of ego.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and to your point, he's got the biggest ego in the world.
Yeah.
And these numbers are huge because of his ego.
But anyways, I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was very well written by him to help you understand what happened. And
terrible.
Man, I can't believe the DA won that case.
I don't have anything to say. It's just like,
I'm assuming he appeals it, but like, golly, what is he spending in attorney's fees?
Oh,
probably 10 lawyers at $2,000 an hour. Just ripping fees.
Well, the thing is he's just going to go bankrupt.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't know what his balance sheet looks like and if he's asset heavy or.
Yeah.
But.
So, anyways, well, I just thought that was really interesting and I thought it was worth talking about because it's a pretty major headline. So, anyways.
Ridiculous.
Well, that's kind of all I got for this week. We got a full plate to plow through. We actually have gotten pretty busy here and need to get rolling. So
yeah, I don't got anything else. I think it's just kind of drink from a fire hose week.
Pretty much
everybody. So we got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yep. All right. Well, that's it for this week. We'll see you next week.